1969 was an incredible year in many, many ways. Believe it or not, man walked on the moon for the first time. Even more improbably, the Jets won the Super Bowl and the Mets won the World Series. To this day, people are still arguing about which of those three things was the most improbable. This is Muscle Car Campy, and we've got another stunning tire melter for you today. It's Judd Middlebrook's 1969 Chevelle SS396. Before we get started, be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring that bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live. Back to 1969. From an automotive perspective, the muscle car era was in full swing and the array of products was dizzying. Six-pack Mopars with lift-off hoods were available. Pontiac stole a line from a TV show and introduced the Judge. At Chevrolet, they were stuffing the L78 engine into everything except the Corvette. No loss there, as that car had no fewer than 5 427s available, and the street versions were all available with aluminum heads. Quite a rarity back then. As far as midsize muscle was concerned, however, this was the year of the Chevelle. This was finally when the SS396 stole the supercar sales crown from its rival, the GTO. Both cars were in the second year of the 1968 redesign, and both had the looks and power to blow your mind. While the L78 375 horse engine was the top dog and capable of heroic performance, the 325 horse L35 396 was the everyman muscle motor in the Chevelle. Let's face it, they sold almost 60,000 of them in this year alone. That's a heck of a lot of muscle cars. In a 5-way comparison test, the Chevelle L35 went 1441 at 97 miles an hour. And while this wasn't exactly the end-all be-all of supercar performance, it was the basis for about 1 million hot rod performances. In the same Car and Driver article, the Chevelle was considered to be the quietest car in the test, with road noise and harshness to be a minimum. Ironically enough, they kind of dinged it in the points department for that. I guess as a econo racer, as they dubbed it, it was too sophisticated and too nice to be a real raunchy hot rod. The plus side was they also considered it the best handling car of the cars that were there, which included a 69 Cobra, a 1969 Super Bee, a Hemi Roadrunner, and a couple other cars. To me, it's hard to beat the looks of the 69 Chevelle. I love the rear quarter glass on this car, very unusual, and they also refined that grille from 68 and the taillights from 68 to make it just a perfect car. Believe it or not, I actually prefer the 69 to the 70, which seems to be everyone's favorite. Well, we're here with Judd Middlebrook, the owner of this 69 SS396. Judd, this car is tremendous. I love the style, and with the temperature being about 200 degrees here in Florida, I think we make sure that Astro ventilation is working pretty good today.
It needs to, that's for sure.
Boy. Now, I love this car. I love the Hugger orange color, but you told me a secret. This car was originally black.
It was originally black. When I bought it, it was actually red. Obviously, it had gone through, after 50-some years, it's gone through a few hands, and I just always took a liking to the Hugger orange after seeing it on that 69 Camaro, so I decided I'd break away a little bit from originality and put this color on it.
I like it. Now, you've done a couple of modifications. You got headers on the engine. I saw an MSD, big MSD.
Yes.
Distributor on there. Internally, is the engine stock?
It's 100% stock. I built it back to factory specs. The headers and the ignition were already on the car when I got it, and I just left them on there, but everything else, I'm kind of an old school guy, so I wanted to make it as close to original as I could.
Sure, understandable. Now, I noticed you have a lot of background racing stock cars, modifieds and such. But you keep your regular car here pretty much stock, huh?
Yeah, I get a lot of flack from my buddies over at Boyd's Hot Rods about keeping my stuff stock, but I just like the look of an original car from the 60s, and pretty much, you know, I think they got it right the first time.
I agree. I mean, they really, for me, for my money, I mean, you cannot make a 69 Chevelle, a 69 GTO, 69 Camaro really look much better. You know, there's the old joke from Spinal Tap, there's a fine line between stupid and clever. And sometimes people modify them so much that they're really not able to. You know, they go a little too far with them.
I agree. And like I said, I've always been old school, and you just like to leave things pretty much stock, and I pretty much don't beat my cars up. I don't do a lot of burnouts and street racing, anything like that. I just enjoy doing what we're doing right now, just riding through the countryside and you know, hearing that big block run and going through the gearbox. That satisfies me.
Well, you know what? I get that. I had a Nova with a big block once, and I mean, the biggest thrill, besides I did race the car, went 10s at 130, but one of the most fun things about it was when you'd open the hood at a cruise night, and there's something magical and mystical about a big block Chevy engine. I'm not saying it's the same as when people see a Hemi, but for the Chevy people, when they see that rat motor under the hood, it's like they've seen God.
No, there's no doubt about it. The big block kind of rules when it comes, especially when it comes to Chevelles.
The car and driver test that I quoted earlier, the one thing I noticed in there, they were talking about how this car with the 325 horse engine ran a lot better than it did when it was in the Camaro, because it had better exhaust, better intake tract. It's kind of funny how the same basic engine can be rated the same way, but a much improved performer.
Absolutely. And what I like about the Chevelles is they ride nice. There's not a lot of vibration in them. You've got the performance, you've got the 4-speed, but the car also drives really smooth.
And I noticed when I pulled up, you also have a beautiful 68 Malibu in the garage, 100% stock also, green with the gold interior, 307 under the hood.
307, and with the old 2-speed slush box.
But what's really cool about it, though, it's a bucket seat console car. So just again,
and factory air.
And factory air, which we could
use today.
Wow. You've got a 68 Mustang in the garage that is a clone of the car you had in high school. You've got a 68 Camaro, and didn't you say you also really wanted a Mopar, a 340 Duster?
Well, Jim, I spent most of my career working at a Dodge dealership, and my everyday mode of transportation has always been a Dodge truck. So I just feel it would probably be right to have a Dodge muscle car in the garage, and kind of looking at one right now. Don't know how serious I really am, but if the right one comes along, I think I'm going to have to add it to the stable.
Well, you know what? There are worse ways to go through life, let me tell you. You know, you're just celebrating, like I do, all that is available to you in the classic car realm. At one point, I had a 65 Dodge, 72 Nova SS, 72 Corvette, and my daily driver was a Mustang Cobra.
Wow.
So I totally get the idea. I mean, they all made great cars back then. How would you, I joke about it now, but how would you pick a new car in 1969? Do you get a 6-barrel Roadrunner or a Hemi GTX, or do you get a GTO Judge or a L78 Chevelle? I mean,
that would be a hard decision to make.
You know?
That would be that's a good point. I never looked at it that way. That'd be very hard to make up your mind what you want to get. I feel blessed that you know, I've just been able to have the 4 cars that I got, and you know, had a lot of help along the way getting to where we're at. But very fortunate to have a couple nice pieces to cruise around on a nice blistering hot day like we are today.
Nothing wrong with that. I'd rather have this than air conditioning right now. Judd, if there was one thing on this car you could change, what do you think it would be?
To be honest with you, I'd probably change the color. I was really in love with the orange 23 years ago when we did the car. It's kind of wore out its welcome with me, so I wouldn't mind actually putting it back to its original color, which was the tuxedo black in '69. So other than that, probably wouldn't change much of anything. Well, I shouldn't say that, Jim. Maybe some air conditioning. Well, I've run a body shop for probably the last 30 years.
So you can't really say you don't know how to do it.
Well,
yeah, but it's a lot of work. It's a whole lot of Chevelle here.
There is, and it's you know, 10 years ago I might have been gung-ho to take it all back apart again, but I'm really not right now.
But if it's any consolation to you, the thing that really stuck out in my mind when I saw this car at the local show was the Hugger orange color. You know, so I was pretty I can't say anything about it. I love the way it looks.
Well, and you know, Jim, every time I think about changing the color back to black, somebody like yourself will come up to me at a car show and say, man, I really like the color on this car. And it never fails. Every time I start really thinking seriously about doing something, I get a bunch of compliments on it. So chances are we're going to leave it just like it is.
All right, everybody, this is Muscle Car Campy, and that's a wrap. Stay tuned. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We got lots more cool cars coming, and be sure to ring that bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live. We'll see you soon with a lot more Detroit Muscle.